From the City of Angels, you're listening to the James Salazar Media Podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about what you can't and can't control. So let me strike the music, and I'll meet you on the other side.
Engage.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Say hello to my little friend.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
And welcome to the James Salazar Media Podcast, where you get your dose of pop culture, politics, and futurism, where there's something for everyone to hate. I am the formerly mentioned James Salazar, your host for this podcast. Hope everyone's doing okay. Hope everybody's peachy keen, doing fine. Just got my second coronavirus vaccine, Moderna. Put me out for like a day. Felt very tired. My arm hurt like shit. But after the end of the day, I posted on my Facebook, fully vaccinated, and I'm not afraid of the vaccine because I'm a evolved human species. And then the next day I had to take a day off, so I thought that was funny. Didn't tell anybody, but I'm telling you, the faithful listeners of the James Salazar Media Podcast. Oh yeah. Yes. You know, I just haven't been into politics lately. It's just so the intellectual, or the lack of intellectual consistency, it just is too much. Joe Biden, you know, I've been on this tip that we should at least get, the next time we do vote for a president, why don't both parties agree on getting somebody who's articulate? And though there are policies that I liked about Donald Trump, especially how he ran economies, but to listen to him was, it hurt. It hurt to listen to him talk. And now you see Joe Biden, and he's just at the age where he just can't speak as well as he could before. And it's so bad, it's embarrassing for our country. So at the very minimum, the next election, I know we're not going to agree on ideas. I know you guys are not going to get along, but at the very least, the next person you bring in be articulate. That can, whatever he says, whether right, wrong, or indifferent, it is said well. So, but I can no longer just make that. And nobody agreed. Everybody just took their sides and said, well, I'd rather have Donald Trump than Joe Biden. And everybody says, well, I'd rather have Joe Biden than Donald Trump. And I'm like, you're not getting my point. You're not getting my point. My point is that let's get somebody articulate. You know, you got a big baby who gets easily offended and insults people and says things so in a silly way. And or you got this guy who can barely get his words out. So I'm just saying, at the minimum, can we just get someone who's articulate next time? But I can no longer make that argument. It didn't go anywhere. People didn't concede my point. They're all, no, we just want somebody who holds our values and we don't care how they talk. And pretty much that goes for each party. So that was it. But Joe Biden is increasingly getting worse. His policies are getting more destructive every single day. And let me explain something to people. And it's for people who support Joe Biden and the people who don't support Joe Biden what to expect from him. He is not trying to make the economy better. He's trying to make the economy more equitable. He's trying to make it more fair. And fair doesn't mean better. It often doesn't mean better. He wants an economy that is even keel, mediocre, as long as it's mediocre for everyone. But that's not what happens. We know through history that doesn't happen. When you try to make an economy more equitable, the economy drops too fast and it makes everybody poor. And the only way they can achieve, and they're going to find that out, this is a process that most socialists learned in the early 40s to 50s, that you can't make people free and have an equitable economy. You need to control them. Everybody has to be equally miserable. That is a doable goal. And they did it in communism. They just couldn't sustain it because nobody wanted to open a business. Or businesses were completely government run. And we know government, super inefficient. So, yeah, you're not going to get a better economy under Joe Biden. He's not looking for that. So the criticisms that millions of jobs are being lost doesn't really matter to him, because it's reaching the long goal of a more equitable economy. And he believes that is something that can happen, but that's never been sustainable. Many people have tried it and failed. Like I've always said, I'm a capitalist, proud capitalist, but I surely understand there is flaws in capitalism. But nothing's better. Socialism, disastrous. Communism, even more. This is why our forefathers are so brilliant, because they knew you can only guarantee or try to guarantee equality of opportunities. They knew equality of outcomes is like a kindergarten kid's dream. I want to start a race where everybody wins. Unless you tell them with a gun against their head, you better let everybody win. It's not going to happen. Some kid's going to put his foot forward right before the finish line and go, I won. You know I won. My foot was there first. And everybody's going to go, whoa, we had an agreement. But people need to learn the hard way. But so capitalists will stay out of the economy for the next 4 years and not invest in opening jobs, and the economy is going to get worse, which will leave the door open for a Republican president. So businessmen just need to wait 4 years, and they know how to do that. They can do that. They have the ability to do that because they have what you call post-tax money they can live on and wait for the right environment to invest. And let me tell you something. They don't always have to invest into the American economy. They can invest in economies that are not going down a more equitable economy, or other forms of investment that have nothing to do, or the equitable economy cannot touch or cannot change. Look, I said this time and time again. When you tell business people and people who create jobs that you're going to socially engineer society based upon their profits by taxing them at a higher rate, they will pull out of the economy because they don't have to. No one's putting a gun to their head to make them invest in the economy, and they won't. They don't have to. It's called free will. There's a freedom. Unless you want to institute slavery and take over businesses like China, what can I tell you? The economy is going to go to shit under Joe Biden. And he's making all the wrong decisions, and we're seeing it in the economy. I mean, he's literally going back to Jimmy Carter. He's saying, Jimmy Carter, you thought you were bad? Hold my beer. Look what I'm going to do. I'm from Stratton. So this leads right up to what we're going to talk about today. Our teaching corner. What you can and cannot change. Well, one of them is you cannot change who's president right now. You can play the part of change 4 years from now, and 2 years with your state and city politics. You can make a difference, but right now worrying about who's president is out of your control. And like I said before, there are so many things that are in your control that you can work on that you truly don't have any time to waste on what you can't change. And that's the big problem. People are worrying about what they can't change. The internet, Facebook, and even I get involved in it, people. I'll start commenting and texting on things I can't change. At the end of the day, I can't change it. I will be able to. I might play a part into it. But I can't change it now, so why worry about it? There is plenty of stuff that needs to be changed and can be changed that is in my ability to change, that can fill up my days and fill up my nights that I'll be working on for the rest of my life. And this is what we're going to talk about today. And we have been doing a series, and what we have now is drum roll or a controlling your tongue.
Citizens of the earth.
Well, what's the proper? No, that's not what I meant. Nope. There it is. Controlling your tongue. Controlling your words. Being someone who is thoughtful about what he says or what she says. Now, this might be one of the hardest things people could do. There are plenty of people who are oblivious to how they come off. They constantly offend people. I mean, it's sort of like Donald Trump. I don't think Donald Trump thinks he's offensive. I think he pretty much thinks that his reactions are appropriate, or the words that he says are appropriate. And not all of it is bad. But he's known for being thin-skinned and saying something. He doesn't have the ability to read the room. And eventually, I do concede that there is a point that nobody in the room is going to give him. It's not going to like what he says if he said it in the most articulate way anyway. For sure, they never gave Donald Trump the chance. Once she beat Hillary Clinton, they never gave him a chance. So they were never going to like what he says. But for objective thinkers, he did say things. He did hit back. And we're going to get into those things. But at the end of the day, do you control what you say? Is there a point where you get triggered and you say things and you put your foot in your mouth and you don't know why you went there, but you did, and now you've insulted people, and you never meant to do it. This is common with people. But there is a group of people who go out every day thinking they're the most charismatic people on earth, and nobody can stand because of how they talk and the way they address people and the way they treat people. And it's sad. They wonder why nobody likes them and why they can't maintain friendships. Because they are oblivious to their mouth. Or they think they always have a justification for their bad behavior, speaking exclusively of talking in words. You know, I'm creating a program that is complementary to my teaching course, the Identity Redesign Matrix, which is going to come out pretty soon, but it's accompanied with a bonus called What Grows from Trauma. It's called Roots. And what grows from trauma, one of the things is the inability to control your emotions. And some people pout, and some people get angry, and some people say stupid things or offend people. And because people have trauma in their lives, they wear their emotions on their sleeves. They're at the very edge of who they are, walking on eggshells. You know, you gotta tap lightly over these people because they're always in a bad mood. And here's the thing: people never choose to be the villain. They don't. Every villain worth its salt. You know, you got cartoon villains, and then you grow up, and every villain always felt justified by their actions. Or people didn't see it in their way, or they saw a threat, and they overreacted and hurt people. This is a classic Lex Luthor. And recently, Batman situation, right? I'm going to do something very bad because the idea of a god called Superman who can wipe us out any second, the idea that that person exists in our world and we are at the mercy of him should take me to the extremes to change that situation. They believe they're the hero. And I say all that to say this, that people who, and this is for you to understand other people who don't control their words, they think they're right. It is rare when someone does something to insult people or when they say things that are harsh, that they're doing it to be mean and not because they feel justified in treating you bad based upon their own personal experiences. And this is what happens with people. And it's called a lack of emotional intelligence, where you can be triggered into saying something that you wouldn't say if you thought it through. You know, emotional intelligence gives you the ability to be calculated and thoughtful. And when you're emotionally triggered, it's most time you stick your foot in your mouth. It's happened to me. I'm pretty sure it's happened to you. It's happened to some of the most successful people, the most articulate people. When you can get them to the point where they get triggered or anger, you can see stupidity come out their mouths. It is a human failing. But if all possible, you can control it. So now that we have said what, not controlling your words to look like. And some of you may have felt the repercussions of being that way. You have an inability to make friends, make connections with business people, keep customers, or inability to find a mate, whatever it might be. Well, now that we understand the problems that come with someone who can't control what they say, when they get emotional, they end up saying things that are wrong or they never intended to say. One of the first tools you can use is creating an inner monologue. Now, what is an inner monologue? Number one is the ability to say what you want inside your mind instead of saying it out your mouth. Sounds simple enough, but it's very hard for people to do who usually speak. Now, here's the trick or the secret. Most people have an inner monologue and they don't feel compelled to say what they're thinking. They're wiser than that, or they just have it. And the people who end up saying things that offend and they never meant to say, or say it in the wrong way, usually don't have an inner monologue. When someone seems very arrogant to you, and you're in a disagreement with that person, the person that doesn't have an inner monologue will call that person arrogant out loud and to their face. Now, that's all good if you want to create an enemy, but you may not have want to go out to the bar to create an enemy. You just wanted to talk to people. But because you got frustrated by the conversation, your emotions took over, your inner monologue left, and you spoke what came out of your mind. That's not good. Unless you want to create enemies. And I think you are listening to this or you're resonating with this is because you're tending to wonder why people don't like you. And that's important to you. If it's not important to you, then, disregard everything I'm saying and go on pissing off people. But don't expect people to help you. And don't complain about it. Right? Don't complain that people think you're an asshole and nobody wants to do anything with you and they think you're sarcastic and you're mean and cruel. And at the end of your life, you go, well, I'm all alone. Well, you chose that. You didn't care earlier. And now you want everybody to care now. Well, it's a little too late then, right? So if you want to have a life full of people around you, friends, loyal friends and family, it's got to be give and take. And the give and take is that you don't insult people. You may be thinking something at the time, but keep it in your head. Use your inner monologue. Just say it like, oh, God, this person being an asshole. You can say that in your mind and let that be good enough. And now another tool that helps people control their tongue is understanding leverage. Now, leverage is knowing your position in life. And, we're seeing with Christy Teigen, what's his name? John Legend's wife. It's coming out that she's a mean person, writing mean things to people. She talks down to people. Same thing with Ellen DeGeneres. We're learning that these woke people are actually broke and treat people mean and say mean things to people because they thought they had leverage over people. And that's just a character flaw. The character of a person when all the important people leave, how they treat people under them. And we're finding out with Ellen and we're finding out with Christy Teigen, they're just not very good people. They took those positions of leverage to destroy people under them. But what I want you to understand about leverage is that if you don't understand leverage, that there's people who may help you or be over you. And if you don't control your mouth, you could put yourself in a position of getting fired or missing opportunities to make your life better because you didn't judge the leverage. It reminds me of a time, you know, I was a great singer, young, brash, sing better than everybody at school. But I needed to get a vocal teacher. And I heard about this guy. He was supposed to be the best tenor vocal teacher. And here I'm coming to test him out, see if he is good as people say. I walk up to his door with all the brashness of life. Knocked on the door, and the guy came and yelled at me. Said, "You came early. Get out of here." And I was like, who's this motherfucker talking to me this way? And I was about to tell him off. Say, "Look at here, homie. You're going to get smacked." But I didn't do that. Said that in my mind. I used my inner monologue, and I understand the leverage. I needed what he had. So I bit the bullet. And I hadn't been put in that position in a while where I needed something from somebody else. And they put me in a position where I could have slapped them. Lily dilly style. And I remember biting my lip and saying to myself, "Hold your tongue. Let's check this dude out." So I ended up going in there. He was a washed-up tenor. They said he was technical, but he wasn't really technical. He said weird things. He was very kooky. And I should have told him off. Now that I knew that I don't want nothing he wants, I was like, but, you know, at that point, it wouldn't add up to anything other than a bad reputation for myself that I insult teachers out of the blue. So I didn't want that either. So I understood leverage. Same thing. If you have a boss who is in charge of your vacation time or in charge of your raise in the next month, understand it's not the best time to talk back to your boss when you need that vacation or you want a raise. And it's never a good time if you suck at your job and you need that paycheck. But there are people in life who will insult people who have leverage over them, who can't control their mouth or their body language when the people hold a certain amount of leverage in your life. And that's just stupid. You got to understand leverage, or you got to put yourself into the place where you don't care anymore. Well, then you don't have leverage, and you can burn your bridges. Think about burning bridges that you have to rebuild them. The person you burned them with, they're never going to rebuild it. You have to build it. So you have to come from a place of humility. How about just not put yourself in a position where you have to build a bridge? So, leverage, understanding leverage is in a very intelligent way to start to control your emotions. Because when your emotions are out of control, so is your tongue. You say things that hurt people. You try to shit on people's day with an attitude. Well, that's not good. Let me tell you something. No matter how bad your day is, no matter how sad your history is, it doesn't give you a right to shit on people that didn't do anything to you. It doesn't give you a license to be a shitty person. It doesn't. Doesn't give you a license to be mean to people and say mean things to people. Whether it be your wife, your kids, your co-workers, your family members, whatever. Nobody cares about your past enough to deal with a rude and shitty person. So don't be that. Simple enough. Nobody cares what dreams died. Especially when you're shitting on theirs. So come on, people. Control your tongue. It's a lifelong journey of something to work on. Today, even me, I say things out of anger. I say things out of insecurity. I say things to entertain that I probably should have never said. And I regret it. And I get mad at myself. Because I'm smarter than that. And so are you. Now, the best way to be is to be intentional and calculated when it comes, especially when it comes to business and your work and the things you want to accomplish in life. Don't leave it up to chance. When you walk into a room, you need to show people an intentional and calculated person that what you show them is what you want them to see. And part of what you want them to see is what you say. And you say what you want to say. And what you say is intentional and calculated. This is a key. Pull yourself out of this emotional mentality and be logical, intentional, and calculated with your words. Be that way with your wife. Be that way with your kids. You can be logical and intentional and calculated and loving all at the same time. You can do it. It is possible. It is not beyond you. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other. You can say something thoughtful and calculated to your wife that you mean to say. And your emotions can be behind it. Same thing with your kids. You can be intentional and calculated about the love you want to show towards your kids. So in your business life and your social life and your family life, be calculated and intentional with your words. People appreciate it. You tell people and you show people what to think about you. They don't get it from something else. They get it. You're a walking poster of yourself, right? It's your face. It's your voice. It's your actions, right? They're only going to get it from you. So if people don't like you, it's something that's coming off of you. This is just common sense. So I have a mantra for you. Well, before I get into the mantra, I want to say one thing. One of my favorite sayings is by Abraham Lincoln. He says, you can stop a man from talking before he looks like a fool. Or you can let him go and remove all doubt that he is. You got to know that that's you. You're the man that has to stop yourself. Because if you don't stop yourself, you remove all doubt that you're a fool. So I have a mantra. And it's not a big mantra, it's a saying. And it goes like this. And it's words to live by. There's a lot I believe that I would never say, but you'll never hear me say anything I don't believe. Let me repeat that. There's a lot I believe or think that I would never say, but you'll never hear me say anything I don't believe. It's talking about integrity, and it's talking about consideration that there's things in your mind that you might think about people, about life, that you are not going to say. You may want to say them, but you're not going to say them. But what you do say is full of integrity and is exactly what you believe about whatever you're talking about. So it's calculated and intentional. So, wake up every day and say this. There's a lot I believe I would never say, but you'll never hear me say anything I don't believe. So, I just want to read you some quotes from brilliant people about controlling your tongue. And let's do that right now. Let's do that right now. Let me switch my screen. Let's go. Silent seldom does harm. Anonymous. A closed mouth gathers no feet. Closed mouth doesn't put their foot in it. What else do we have here? Give every man thy ear, but few thy voice. Listen, or thy tongue will keep thee deaf. That means you were talking while other people are talking and not listening. Your words are keeping you deaf. That makes sense. Two great talkers will not travel far together. That's true. Only one piece of people wants to hold court. This is very important. By Earl Walson. If you wouldn't write it and sign it, then don't say it. Those are words to live by, people. I often regret my speech, but never my silence. That's a good one. Let me see. If you say what you think, don't expect to hear what you like. Malcolm Forbes. That's a good one. You're going to say what you think, you're going to hear shit back. Right? That you're not going to like. Among my most prized possessions are words that I have never spoken. That goes back to what I just said. My mantra. Let me see if I can find two more here that I like. Oh, blessed are those who have nothing to say and who cannot be persuaded to say it. Oh, yeah, a lot of people would like you to speak up for yourself, not understanding the dynamics you're living in. A dog has a lot of friends and fun. Maybe because he wags his tail and not his tongue. I don't know why I find that funny. A dog has a lot of friends and a lot of fun. Maybe because he wags his tail and not his tongue. I like that one. I'm going to put that on a shirt. If your thoughts are rubbish, merely don't express yourself too clearly. What? If your thoughts are rubbish merely... if your thoughts are merely rubbish, don't express yourself too clearly. Okay, yes. Be very vague if your mind don't think right. A tongue of a fool is the key of his counsel, which in a wise man wisdom hath in keeping. Oh man, that's too wordy. That's too long ago. Let me see. I want to cut that out, but I'm just too lazy to do that right now. So let's act like we didn't read that. Let's see. I need to look for a new one. That one's on top. I'll just end on that one. A dog has a lot of friends and fun, but maybe because he wags his tail and not his tongue. But you can't end on something that was already spoken. Nature gives us 2 ears, 2 eyes, and but one tongue, to the end that we should hear and see more than we speak. Socrates. Oh, let's do something very good. Very good. Yeah, let's end with that. Let's end with Socrates. Let's end on a very high point. Socrates. Yeah, control your tongue, people. Control your tongue. Let's review. Don't be so oblivious to yourself. Okay? Be very thoughtful. You know, take a good measure. If you have trouble finding friends, if you find it hard to keep relationships, and you have no friends at work or colleagues that like to hang around with you, you might be saying things or doing things that make you unlikable. So fix that. Realize that. Stop wearing your emotions on your sleeve. Your trauma doesn't give you a right to shit on people's day. Number 2, use your inner monologue as a tool to keep you from saying things stupid. You can't control that your mind's going to think something stupid or think something true, but it's stupid to say it out loud. Use your inner monologue. Say it in your mind. Okay? Number 2, understand leverage. Understand, don't be insulting people over you. And don't be a person that insults people under you. Be a kind person and be calculated and intentional with the people above you with your words. And at the end of the day, if you truly exercise this mantra, there's a lot I believe I would never say, but you'll never hear me say anything I don't believe. People will listen up when you talk. Because what you are doing right there is telling people there are things that that I believe that you might not be ready for, so I'm not going to say them to you. But when I am going to say them, there's something I believe. And when you show that and present that, when you're about to say something, people will listen. So I hope that helped today. It is a lifetime controlling your tongue. And you need to control your tongue when things are hard. Because pretty much everybody does it when it's easy. Only extreme cases, someone does it, doesn't control their tongue. And that's just being an idiot. So be smarter than an idiot. And stop shitting on people's day. Be a good person. Okay? So we're going to end it there. You can follow me, everybody, on all the social media platforms. Just type in James Salazar Media. I should come up. Please subscribe to the podcast and tell people about the podcast, as well as click the notification and leave a review. Sorry, I'm burping. I would greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or any comments about anything I said, put it in an email at the jamessalazarmedia@gmail.com, and I'll read it online. Okay? And yeah, next week we'll be coming from the world of futurism. Just try to build up those storylines to read to you, because there was a little slowdown. And I want something to show you. So we're going to try to do a whole segment on that, talk about the latest in our trek forward into the future. So until then, my friends, when the storm of life come against you and you find yourself on your knees, stand tall, take a look at that storm and say what my sensei Jack Burton always says, give me your best shot. Strike the music.